Hi, I'm Adriana Baranek and you're watching the Spiritual Awakening with Adriana channel. I promised a while back that I will be talking about Little Mermaid story in light of your spiritual awakening. And you voted that you wanted to have this fairy tale as a topic. But I must admit that this one was tougher and it took me a little bit more time than I expected to get prepared for that. Little Mermaid is a story. It is written by great Danish writer Hans Christian Andersen, and there were many interpretations of that story. I went through all of them and I had to read lots of resources, and I will not refer to any of them because I also have the alternative ending to this story prepared, and I will give you my take. And I took some time to prepare, so I do not do this lightly. The story is itself is the one we most probably all know. Little Mermaid lives in the underwater world with her father, who is the king. She has sisters and she is the youngest daughter. She is an introverted, thoughtful child, and each year as her sisters turn 15 years old, they're allowed to go to the sea surface, and she could not wait for her turn to go up there and see the different world than the one that she has been living in. And she is a mermaid. She's not human, and her perception of the world beyond her understanding is idealized. So she lives underwater and she wants to go to the surface. When she turns 15, she goes to the surface, witnesses the ship wreck in which a beautiful boy, prince, is hurt and almost drowns. She saves him, putting her life in danger. She falls in love with him, and she already had a statue of him in her world that she adored. He reminds her of that statue, in fact. Her desire to be with him is so strong that she decides to give up her tail for legs, even though every step hurts and her feet bleed terribly. She hopes to get an eternal soul if she is loved by him. There is also an old witch that has given her those legs, but you can read the story yourself. I'm just telling you the gist of it. She hopes to get an eternal soul if she is loved by him, because humans and those they love have eternal soul, and mermaids will dissolve into water when they die without having an eternal soul. However, there is a mix-up, and he assumes that the lady that saves his life on her 15th birthday is another girl, and he marries her. She is unable to talk, Little Mermaid, and cannot solve this misunderstanding with him. And she thinks that she's turning into foam when she decides to die. And to her surprise, she joins Daughters of Air, who can also get an eternal soul after 300 years of good deeds. So the story sort of ends on a happy note. And first, from perspective of me, prior to my spiritual awakening journey, this was like the creepiest, the saddest story that I have ever heard. A woman, and not even a woman, but basically a child of 15 something years, is risking her body and mutilating herself basically just for a man, and then he is betraying her and marrying another woman. When I read it a while back when I was a child, it was the ultimate horror story for me, because we were all, like fed this monogamous happy relationship until death do us apart and marriage. And I still do think that this story, when interpreted from the point of view of us as human beings, has some evil connotations, and I think that it really does not send a very good message to little girls. It is not really a read for faint of heart, and I would not recommend it as something that little children should be reading. However, if you change your perspective, and as a result of your spirituality changing, this story in fact has some very interesting notions, and now I no longer see it as a horror story, but it's just because I changed so much. Obviously, the childhood spent in the kingdom at the bottom of the sea represents us before the spiritual journey. We are convinced that the world we see is the world there is, and that there is nothing else. There might be some that tell us that there's be something more, but this bigger reality that might be, we can only dream about and never know for sure. And this kingdom that is at the bottom of the sea is for many people all they can ever think of. They never want to ascend to a new level. They never want to become more than they used to be. and they take their 3D existence and this life as all there is, and they do not dare to hope that this is not the final reality. They think that once they die, they're dead, it's that, and rising to the surface is not really a very subtle expression and description of the ascension of your consciousness once you do realize that life is so much more and that there are basically no limits for us. Plato, a Greek philosopher, is talking about the cave in which prisoners are locked and they cannot see or understand the entire truth about the world. They are locked in their view, in their angle, and they see only shadows of the real world. They think that these are all that there is. And when somebody of them, those prisoners, sets free and gets a more complete understanding of the world they are hostile to him, they think he's insane and they attack him. I will be talking about the Plato's cave allegory very soon. But unfortunately, lots of people are very much like those people in the cave, not getting the full truth about the world around us. Back to Little Mermaid. For me, it is also interesting how not a single one of her sisters is really interested in the world beyond their own world. Little Mermaid is the only one of those sisters that strives to experience something more, and love for the prince is the driving force. It is almost as if at the bottom of the sea, the boy statue that she cares for so much is reflected in the real prince out there. She sacrifices basically all that she is now to become something she is not. And for me, this story is sad on so many levels still, because she still does not bring her the love that she seeks. Daughters of the air, while being creatures that have eternal soul and go to heaven eventually, dress her in not such a loving way as one would expect. It is almost as if Anderson rushed to finish the story without feeling the bigger picture, and I must say I still do not feel the story is complete or fair to its readers. However, the main premise of the story that I'm most angry about is that there are some beings that do not have soul. And I think that human Anderson was carried away with his personal story and not really giving us his best, because I think that he knew that everybody has a soul. And this is why I decided to tell you the ending that I want to think there is. My ending of the story would be that Little Mermaid returns to the underworld, and she's given the opportunity to talk for one day, tell the truth to the prince, and offer him to be transformed into a merman and live with her eternally in her kingdom. She does that, he accepts, and they live happily ever after as mermaid and merman at the bottom of the sea. Here, now I'm happy to have this resolution. I know I'm cheesy, but I want my fairy tale to have a happy ending. And if one is not written yet, I will write it myself. And one important note, being spiritual does not mean that you want to have your eternal life as soon as tomorrow, like become a spirit. If that would be, so every spiritual awakening would end up with something like suicide. But quite on the contrary. And I think that it is a very important note, because Little Mermaid is sad, like she's dying and she will get the eternal soul, but basically she's dead. But quite on the contrary, it is exactly the spiritual awakening that allows you to fully live your life and to achieve peace in your own body, mind and soul. And this is what spirituality is all about. And I think that this is the aspect that not many people talk about, but I really think that it is very important to note. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the little bell if you want to see updates. I will see you very soon again, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you so much. Bye.